This episode of the Inside Running podcast is sponsored by Mizuno. The hype is real and it's almost here. The Mizuno Neo Vista is the ultimate expression of Mizuno's sense of Japan design philosophy, combining blissful softness with an effortless ride to celebrate their entrance into the super trainer category. If you want to make your easy days easier, long runs smoother, and workouts swifter, stay tuned via Mizuno Australia on Instagram and mizuno.com.au for the mid-June launch date. Enjoy the show.
Your skin can bring you so much pain. Now I hear you say you got the best of both ways.
Welcome to episode number 344 of the Inside Running podcast. Thank you for joining us for another week. I say most week it's going to be a big show, but I think this week it legitimately is going to be a big show. We've got our results to go through. Oslo Diamond League happened. We've got domestic 10k races at Launceston. They also had a half marathon. Lakeside, we've got Brisbane Marathon Festival to talk about, huge news and controversy out of the women's announcement of the marathon team, which happened today. Good listener question. Croaks is back on the winners list at Wollongong Half Marathon. Moose on the Loose looks detailed here. A bit to preview coming up as well. Thanks for giving us some of your attention. Welcome my co-host, the 4.5-time winner of the Great Ocean Road Marathon, represent Australia at the 2019 World Championships in the marathon. Julian Spence, how are you?
I'm good, mate. No appeals from my selection that day. That's a nice feeling.
No appeals, straight in. No controversy. You were the only one.
Only one that put their hand up.
One male, easy. One female.
Who wants to go? I'll go. All right, you're in.
Pack your bag. Here's your uniform.
Yeah, pretty much. Here's your BLK uniform that we found down the op shop.
My other co-host is here, fresh off a win. His return to racing is a 2:17 marathoner. Don't have any Australian singlets, do you, Croaks? Didn't go to like an Oceania Champs cross country or anything like that over the years?
No, mate. No Aussie singlets for me.
You don't reckon you have brought that up by now? In 6 years of recording this.
Mountain running? You might have tried mountain running, wouldn't you? Try and get a sneaky one?
No, I wouldn't. I'm going to offend some mountain runners here, but no, I'm happy not to have an Aussie singlet if that's the way I've got to go about getting one.
What about, you would have had a few state singlets over the years?
Yeah, New South Wales, ACT.
Yeah, two different states.
Yeah, cross country.
Track?
Tell us about them. Which years are this? Which years?
We're going to be hearing a lot about Croaks tonight, and with this recap, I don't know if you want to go down this rabbit hole this early.
2009, 2010. We won the I ran New South Wales in 2010. We won the team's title in Brisbane. And
who beat that day? Who were the two people in front and the two people behind you?
In the race?
Yeah, the finish line. And I know you know this.
No, I don't. I know I beat Midrace to be the fourth scorer for New South Wales. Yeah. But I don't know. But I know in 2009, Hardigan was behind me.
Ooh, skills though.
Yeah.
What, he ran for Victoria that day?
Yeah. I think ACT finished second in the teams. I think Victoria won because they had Liam, Chris Hamer, maybe like Steve Kelly.
Oh, yeah. Strong runners back then.
Yeah.
Toby Rayner, those kind of names.
Hmm.
Strong. It's been a big week, boys. Do you want to kick things off, Croaks? You've everyone's, I know people are here to listen to the women's marathon selection stuff, but I think there's a whole lot of listeners here to hear about how the Wollongong Half Marathon went and your return from heart surgery to racing.
Yeah, all right. I'll kick off with Monday. Did 12K plus a few hill strides, 4:19s. Jumped on the treadmill on Tuesday morning for 35 minutes, just at 12k an hour on the treadmill. And then the session, I only did one session for the week. That was Tuesday afternoon. So we're down at the lake. My session was a 10-minute tempo, 2-minute sort of rest or slow jog, whatever you wanted to do. 6 by 1 minute on, 1 minute standing rest, and then 2 minutes after the last 1 minute rep, and then an 8-minute rep, a bit faster than what we did the first 10 minutes at. So I did 3:17s for the first 10-minute rep. The 1 minute reps were between like 2:51 and 2:56 K pace, and the 8-minute rep was at 3:07s, which, like that last 8-minute rep, like the last couple of minutes of that got pretty tough. It's just hard. Like it's half the loop that we're doing was well lit, half of it was in the dark, and you just sort of, I don't know, lose all perception of pace, and you try to look down at your watch, and I find like it takes you a couple of seconds to actually sort of, get the light on and then focus on looking at the watch. And by that stage, you haven't been looking at the path for a bit. So, look, I was happy with the session. Like in terms of the paces, like, my fitness is definitely like progressing sort of every week, which is good. Wednesday, I got out for like a midweek long run. So I did an hour 45, 4:10s, just over 25K. I reckon I may have worn the Mizuno Neo Vista for that run, and then went to the gym that afternoon. Then on Thursday, I did 45 minutes at 4:24s. Friday, jumped on the treadmill because we had a really shitty day here Friday. Jumped on the treadmill for 65 minutes, listened to Road to Gold Coast. So that was 13K. And then Saturday, went out in the morning before we headed to Wollongong, did another hour at 4:23s. And so we headed up to Wollongong. James Tunbridge from the Wollongong Running Festival, they looked after us. They got us a night at the Novotel, which was 400 metres from the start line. So we got up there, went out for dinner with Vince, who I coach. He's here based in Canberra. And then the weather forecast was looking real bad. Like it was meant to be 40 to 60 mils of rain on the Sunday, 40k an hour winds. But thankfully, when we woke up, there was no rain at all. It was fairly windy, probably 30k an hour southerly winds. But it wasn't too bad. So I guess the race, so it's 2 laps of a course. So the first 3Ks pretty much you run across some grass out to the lighthouse and back. That's about 3.5K, and it's a bit undulating, all on bike paths. And then you have a nice 2.5K section of nice wide flat bike path, and then you have this out and back section, and then you have the last probably 2.5K of the loop is all on this. You go through a little bit of a forest, and it's all on sort of just dirt trails. But the 3 of us, we broke away pretty early. So it was myself, Alex Seal, who I actually found out he went to college, BU, the fast track everyone races.
Yeah, it's purple indoors. Is it purple? It's indoors though, isn't it? No, that's Washington maybe that's purple.
Yeah, so he went to BU, 1,500 guy. I think he's run 3:42. And your man, Sam Jones.
Yep.
So, so 3 of us were together pretty much for the whole first lap. And I really expected those 2 guys to just pull away in the second lap. So we were sort of rolling 3:20s on our watch, and I'm and it felt actually really, really comfortable. We got to the 6K mark, and this was probably one of the criticisms of the event. The 10K started 20 minutes before us, and from the 6K mark, we were on a bike path heading 1K out, 1K back. So we were trying to pass 10K runners, and you got 10K runners coming back the other way. Then when we get to the turnaround, we're still passing 10K runners. You got 10K runners coming back the other way, plus you got the half marathoners now trying to pass those other 10K runners. So the racing almost stopped between 6K and 10K, because once we got into the forest section as well, we're just pretty much going around people, and you've got the people running sort of 70 minutes for a 10K, got their headphones in. Even when you call out to them, keep left, they can't even hear you. So pace sort of dropped through there. And then once we got through the first lap, we started heading back out towards the lighthouse. And I was sort of on the front at that point into a bit of a headwind, and we got up the hill at the lighthouse, and I'd gapped them. And I thought it was really weird that I was gapping them sort of this early into the race. especially given I really thought that they would run away from me, because I think Alex ran 30:40 at Sydney 10 and Sam ran 31:20. And anyway, I got around the lighthouse, hit this massive headwind. And although I gapped him, I thought I'd cook myself. I'm like, oh, I'm actually working pretty hard now. So I sort of slowed down a little bit. And when we got back to the sort of start-finish area, Alex had caught up by that stage. We dropped Sam. And I thought to myself, the longer this race goes, the better it's going to be for me. So the fact that Alex has already sort of fallen off at one point, I just need to keep the pace sort of fairly honest, which is what I did from, 13K through to, 18K. And by that stage, I had a pretty good gap.
Can I just pause you there for a sec, Crux? So the intention last week was to run this at your pace to get used to that feel. It has quickly changed to that I am going to smoke these boys and make them work for this, and I'm going to try to win this race. No,
well, so early on it was we're running 320s, and I thought 320s would be a stretch from 30 minutes onwards. And so I thought to myself, look, if I don't run with these guys, I'm going to be running on my own. And 320s felt pretty comfortable. So I thought, look, if I can at least just get through the first lap with them, and if they pick it up, I'm happy just to keep this rhythm going. But then it wasn't until we got near the lighthouse and they were falling off, I'm like, shit, I could actually win this, because if they're already falling off, the longer this race goes, it's going to suit me more than it suits them. So that's when I started to probably get a little bit more competitive, although I didn't really pick up the pace. I maybe squeezed it a little bit from 15K to 18K, just to make sure that I had enough of a gap that I could sort of, relax a little bit towards the finish. And I probably got to 19K, and we're going still passing, because then in the second lap, we were then passing the half marathoners who were still on their first lap. So there was always traffic in the last 4K of each lap. And with about a K and a half to go, I was just sort of sick of the having to weave in and out. So I probably just pull back a little bit for the last part, and managed to get the win. So I was really happy with how comfortable it felt. It probably only really started to feel uncomfortable at 19K, 19.5K, and that's probably when I started to just go, all right, I'm just going to back off a little bit now.
So good.
So ran 70:55. Which gives me encouragement, because I spoke to Sam, and Sam won this race last year in 72 minutes and ran 68:30 at Gold Coast a month later, and he said he ran basically both races pretty hard. So so it was a pretty successful day. I guess I'm probably fitter than I thought I was. Went for a bit of a cool down, and then Lily did her first ever fun run, 2K kids race. So that was a race for, I think the minimum age was 5, which is Lily's age, all the way up to 12. So she did really well. She ran we didn't stop and walk at all. So she loved it, and so did I.
Yeah, so, pretty good family memories there.
Yeah, so that was my week, 130 odd K. So it was a great weekend away.
This comment from Nick on your Strava: you need to race more. It looks like it makes you happy.
Well, I think I need to get fit enough to the point that I can race fairly well and it not hurt so much. Because I enjoyed Sunday, because most of it felt comfortable. Which
that's my next question, Croaks. Nick's stolen my thunder here, but we know that you don't care about races if you're not running PBs. You've been very strong in that sort of opinion. But you certainly sound like you enjoyed this race. Now, did you enjoy this race because you won, or because you were racing, or because you actually may enjoy being in a race even though you're not going to run 66 minutes?
So I think there's a few factors. One, it was it probably didn't hurt as much as I thought, and maybe I don't know, maybe in the past I've raced when you know what it's like. If you race and you're not fit, it's not much fun, which was probably that 5K that I did a few weeks back. I just wasn't fit enough, and that really hurt. And so I probably enjoyed Sunday for a few reasons. One, I felt like it was in a pretty much of a comfort zone for me for a lot of it. It was good just having those two boys around. Like the first 10K went so quick. And obviously if you start, get a sniff of a win. But I think also running the pace that I was running at for the effort that I was putting in, that probably gave me just a lot of encouragement. Because I guess one downside of never racing is you'd never really get a true reflection of what shape you're in because you don't really bury yourself in training. So you probably don't think you're going so well, but then you go and race and everything does feel a bit easier in a race compared to training. Like, for example, if I do 30 minutes at the pace that I average for this race in training, I'm working pretty hard and I'm ready to stop. Whereas, I can do it for 70 minutes in a race environment and it almost feels easier than the 30 minutes of training.
It's a different world, isn't it?
It's showing that it's working, though, that training philosophy that you're taking of not doing anything overly hard.
Oh, 100%. And look, another thing that gave me a lot of encouragement is if you look at my bars, it's I've really only been training well for probably 6 weeks. But prior to that, I was given the okay to train a bit more, but I had my hip flared up, so I missed a month, and then I got sick. And so, I've strung together 6 weeks, which is not, in a training block, 6 weeks is not long. And I feel like I've progressed a lot in that time. So if I can stay injury-free and not have any, obviously heart issues and stuff for 6 months, then I would actually be running, quite well.
See, I kind of disagree with that. When I look at your running, although it wasn't high mileage, you've been running since September without any big chunks that are really missing. There was a bit of a chunk in Feb to March where you had was it a hip thing?
Yeah, it was my hip. Yeah.
But you were clocking up I think it was about 90, 100K weeks, week in, week out for probably 6 weeks, and then before that it was 80K weeks, and all that stuff matters. It counts.
Yeah, I agree, but for me, when I start to get the big gains, to the point where I start to feel fit and strong, it's when my mileage does get up there, or maybe not so much weekly mileage, but if I'm doing 90 minutes on midweek and I'm doing 2 hours plus on a Sunday, that's where I start to get fit. Or even I've noticed a big difference in the last few weeks by going going 2 hours 25 on a Sunday or 2 hours 15. That's when I start to get really strong.
Yeah, which is nice in principle. I reckon if it's easy to sit here and go, I'll get really strong if I run 180K weeks, but to be able to put it in practice is different. And that's why looking at what you've done is maybe this is the sustainable way forward for you to knock off some good times and run a PB in the marathon. I'm still pretty confident you can do that.
Yeah, maybe. I still feel like I can run big mileage. My body's actually pretty good. I don't have any niggles, and I've sort of proven in the past that I can actually run pretty high mileage. I'm not sure what's going to happen with the heart if I was to go high mileage, but it was definitely when I was running my best, was when I was running 160 to 200K weeks regularly. That being said, I can only do that now because I've been running for so long. Guys I coach now probably look at what I'm doing and have seen how much I've improved over the last 6 weeks, and they're like, well, maybe I'll just copy what you're doing. But that doesn't always work because they don't have the background in the mileage that I've done.
So years and years of consistency.
Yeah, which was probably the difference on yesterday's race. If we raced over a 10K, I'm pretty sure both of those guys would have beaten me. But it was just strength in the end. I didn't really get any faster. They just slowed down.
Yeah, you see it in the longer cross country races down here in Victoria as well.
Yeah,
the 8K cross and the 10K road, and then you go up to a 12K cross or a 15K road race, and there's just guys just can't. They don't have the strength to do that.
Yeah. But look, yesterday gave me a lot of confidence because obviously my main goal in the short term is to get fit enough to be able to pace Gold Coast, and I wasn't sure how 72 minutes for a half would feel, but I think based on yesterday, like 72 minutes on a Gold Coast course would feel like fairly comfortable.
Oh, mate, you've got that locked in. The King's going to be still up there, Moose. He'll do it for another year.
Yeah. Mate, this, we're getting to the point now where I'm just, it frustrates me. You frustrate me, Croaks.
Moose, I raced yesterday. Like, I ran pretty hard. Like, okay, maybe I...
You told me you're in comfort zone.
I pussied out in the last, like, K and a half when I knew I had it won. Like, I probably didn't completely bury myself at that point. That was probably the only regret of yesterday, was when it did actually start to get uncomfortable. I was like, have a look over my shoulder. It's all right, I can back off. That being said, like, that period was also like on the dirt, on the grass. Whereas if it was like a nice road, I reckon I would have been able to maintain a pretty good pace and a good rhythm. But that stuff just zapped me by that stage. Plus passing people, I was just like, I'm done now.
Yeah, nothing to gain by fanging it.
Slow down, little bit of air time. You had the camera on you. Let's look good the whole way. Did that help?
How good's the North-South little documentary?
I did not have a camera on me the whole way.
Did you pay those guys to film that, or were they just there?
No, I didn't know they were there till across the finish line.
Was it Fletch? Who was it?
No. It was the other guy. I can't remember his name.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good. No, it's good to see you back. Really, I love it. I want to see more of it.
We'll see.
So what do you got next then? You've got... Surely this pacing gig's not the goal, the aim.
Find something before. That's 5 weeks yesterday, isn't it?
I'll train now through till Gold Coast, and then, but definitely after Gold Coast, I will look to race something.
What about some cross country? What about national cross?
Where is it this year?
I know.
I'm definitely looking to do a marathon later in the year.
Okay.
Sydney.
Yep. We'll get through Gold Coast first.
I reckon Sydney would suit you.
He won't like the hills in Sydney. He wants a fast time.
But it suits him though. Look at him, dumping blokes up the hill.
I know, it'd be
wondering
perfect.
where they are.
Yep, perfect.
Gee, they dropped off easy. He says to himself.
Hey, money pays down a fifth too, doesn't it? Australian title.
Oh, cash. The man loves cash. Don't worry about that.
Love cash.
Yeah, I reckon that could work.
That's why early on, when I looked back after like 2K, I'm like, comfortably third here. I'm going to walk away with a little bit of cash.
Oh, what? How early are we talking? You're thinking about cash?
2K? 3K?
2K. Cash is on his mind, Brady.
I knew I was on the podium after 3K.
I don't mind it. Whatever's got to get him racing.
Real mercenary type.
Mate, got a mortgage.
After him too. Were you like an official ambassador or something? I saw Matty Hills was there. Matty Heiner.
Yeah. No, I wasn't an official ambassador. So, presentation was Matty Heiner and Pat Farmer. Pat Farmer presented me with the money and my Wollongong Running Festival hat.
Drug testing?
No drug testing.
Okay. Very good, Croaks. It's good to see you back. Respect that one, though. Hard half marathon. You haven't done that in a while. Take this week easy.
I won't do a session till Friday, but I'll go longish on Wednesday.
Yeah, that's all right. No sessions. Moose, what have you been doing?
Oh, me? Yeah. You're going to me?
What about bloke can't enter a race? Croaks.
Oh, yeah. Tell us about your race, Moose.
Bit of a mistake. Oh, I was just too busy. You know how it is. Well, neither of you know how it is. But I was going to enter at some point, and then I just got flat out. And then I didn't want to enter until the last minute because I was just working out what to do. Pia, Bree was going to run, but she got sick, so she didn't enter. And then I got to Wednesday morning, and I was driving to Melbourne, and I tried to do it on my phone. And, I tried to have Bree do it on my phone, and no one knew the password to get into Athletics Victoria. And then I knew I had to sign up for Deakin before I even booked the race entry. And so I thought I'll do it when I get to the meeting that I was going to. And then I got there and I couldn't get a car park for 20 minutes. So I just forgot. And then in the end, it was Geelong came fourth. You know that?
Big pack of them together, it looked like, out there on course.
Yeah, so realistically, pretty good for me not showing up and getting beaten by a few Geelong blokes that would have just absolutely loved that. So I did a long run, a sort of a long run instead, and didn't have to wake up at 5 a.m, which was also pretty nice. But it would have been good to get out there. I was actually looking forward to it. Not the drive. If the race was in Anglesey, I would have done it still. I just ran in half tready, half outside on Monday. Real family stuff, this. This is not up your alley, Croaks. Running with a dog and a pram.
Oh, no.
And then got home and was like, oh, Piers, I can't just dump her. I got to go sit on the treadmill while she watches some stupid TV show. So 10 minutes on the treadie after that. Yeah, I know, bad.
I've got a dog that can't run, and I've never owned a running pram in my life.
Yeah, I know. You're a pro athlete, mate. You're a pro athlete without the times or the singlets. I got an hour on Tuesday morning. I just did a loop down on the beach. It's quite nice, actually. A few trails, 245 metres. And then next morning, did a bit on the treadmill. That was in the arbo, actually. Bit on the treadie, and then I got out after the treadie because Bree was, I don't know what happened. But all up over just over 10, just comboing it up. Next morning, an hour, 260 metres. I'm going to just go in climbing instead of distance now because that's what I've kind of been aiming at. A lot of little technical tracks here. 45 the day after because I was going to go into an hour on Saturday morning with Crammers. Took him out on some new trails, Brady.
That's good. This is pre-race with Crammers too. He was there in action Sunday.
He was, yep. He was, I don't know, dumbass was pushing me on one of these climbs, real low IQ stuff from Crammers. He's got a race the next day and we're going up this climb. Let me have a look at it. It was pretty stupid stuff. I reckon there was a gap pace that was real fast at one point.
And did you maturely say, hey, mate, you got a race in 24 hours. Maybe we should back this off a bit, or did you just put him to the sword?
No, it's not my place to say. He's coached by one of your fellas.
Josh Harris is his coach, yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, that should be...
Josh Harris is an online coach, not there in person. He could have helped him out a bit with a bit of expertise.
Mate, this is what... This bloke's using all the tricks that I taught him. Is like when he sees a little bit of weakness, go harder. And that's what he was trying to do up this climb. And I got to the top. You know what he also is doing? He's trying to flex on me by having a conversation up the hill.
Did that to me once too, yeah.
Yeah, and then we get to the top and he's like, oh, gee, I thought we were going a bit faster than that. When he looks at the pace, I'm like, yeah, I heard you breathing, Crammers. 3:26 gap pace for this bloody hill. Idiot. But it was a little session for me, which was good. Because I wasn't racing the next day. Next morning, did an hour 45. First roundabout, I had 90 minutes in my window. I was either going to go surfing or go running, and the surf was horrible, so I had 90 minutes. And then what happens when you've got a 90-minute window before Bree was going running, meeting Alex, so I had to be back. If you've got a 90-minute window and then you have to go to the bathroom, then you have 85 minutes of running. And then you have to stop, tie your shoes up. That's 82 minutes of running. So it really cuts down if you're on that sort of tight window. I actually ran, this was a really nice run. This was Sunday morning. Conditions were really nice. 11 degrees, little bit of wind, but I hit some hills. Did 18, I think I did 18K before I got to back to the house. Ali and Bree were about to run. I actually whipped Pia into the pram and ran with them with the pram for 25 minutes. So that actually got my long run up a little bit. It was a bit slower going, but I ended up with about 23K, which was good. Biggest long run for ages. Finished with about 85K for the week, I think it was. And this week, we'll see how we go.
Bit concerned about his organisational skills here, Croaks. Waiting 20 minutes for a car park, missing race entries, not having his shoes tied up or going to the toilet before his 90-minute run. Just a few things jumping out at me.
Not having shoes tied up.
Isn't that you said he had to stop to tie his shoes up?
tie them up tighter. Things go wrong when you're in the bush, mate.
Just
things
get
are a bit
them right the
different to
first
running
go.
around a chooker on the road. Things like your
Don't
shoes
bring a
get wet.
chooker into this.
I'm more concerned that he will only run if the surf's shit. That's not a great attitude.
Nah, he'll always run. He just wants to sound cool, like he's a surfer.
I'll run in the afternoon if the surf's good in the morning, I'll go surfing. If the surf's shit in the morning, I go running. And then, because if the surf's good in the arvo, then that's a perfect time to surf. So I got to make some judgment calls.
Okay. That's good. Sounds like you're kind of stringing stuff together more consistently.
Yeah, I reckon I'm getting a bit fitter too. I felt quite good on some of those runs where I was just climbing a bit stronger, and I wasn't real gassed at the end. Like I'm finishing an hour thinking, oh, I wish I had another 10 minutes, 15 minutes of time up my sleeve to keep going. That's a good sign, because 2 weeks ago I was getting to an hour thinking felt like a 2-hour long run.
Yeah. Bendigo cross country, 2 weeks.
Is that St Anne's?
Yeah. Probably a tough one to start back at.
Yeah, I know.
Don't do it, Moose.
You don't reckon?
No, because you'll come away from it and your knees will be fucked and everything will be fucked, and then you'll be like, oh, I'm back to square one. Just build.
What do you reckon about a trail half marathon instead?
Oh, that can't be better for you, surely. This is only 8K, this Bendigo one. It's tough.
Yeah, but the half marathon's a lot slower.
True.
A lot slower going.
Yeah.
And it's on trails. It's not fast.
Probably won't wear spikes.
No, you'll be wearing shoes and you won't be like kicking down. You won't be going down super like sharp, steep hills. Well, you might go down a couple, but you don't care about going fast on them.
What's the race, Moose? Do you want to get back on the top of the podium, do you?
No, well, it's the local one. Surf Coast Trail Half starts just out at Point Addis and then runs through Anglesea and finishes down Fairhaven. So it's a local run. I've done it before. I did it in 2016. But this year, I don't know, it felt like I've been running on the trail. So I just want something to ease back in.
Yeah, I like it. Do it. Local race. Get a win.
What are you doing at Gold Coast this year, Moose?
Well, I'm not entered in anything. And I tried to...
Not making miniature shoes this year?
No, not this year. No, I've been stitched up there. We'd love to make a miniature
entry. They got some entries, I think.
Lululemon.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah?
Yep.
Can they get me a pair of half tights, size medium?
Yeah, probably. They'll be kitting you out for the live show.
Oh, yeah?
You should rock up in a pair of half tights for the show.
That'd be good. That'll get the people through the door.
I've been growing my man chest fuzz out because it's winter. And geez, it's a bit longer than I remember it.
A few buttons undone, you reckon?
I've got some nipple hairs that are good, 4 inches long.
This could be good at the after party.
It's real old man stuff, but it's Queensland. I guess that's the vibe up there.
Do what you want up there.
All right, I'll ask you after this. I'll try to get something.
I think I can get you one. Yep. I'll whistle through this week. Monday, I did 70 minutes at 4:38 pace, and then 6K in the afternoon at 4:57 pace. Tuesday, I did this workout. It was an easier version of 1K on 1K float. I kind of haven't done anything at 10K, I guess, goal race pace that I thought I was going to run at Albert Park 10K, which was yesterday. So my idea was I was going to do 1K around about a pace that I thought I could hold for 10K at the race, then have a minute super slow jog, and then do a minute similar to how I do 3 minutes in Moose Fartlek. So I've called it steady, but it's probably closer to in between kind of 10K and half marathon pace, but definitely backing it off from the faster 1Kers. So all up 10 by 1K with 1 minute jog between when you're alternating the effort between every second rep. So I kind of averaged around 302, 303 for the 1Kers for the hard ones, and then 312, 313 for the easier ones. And this was good. This gave me a lot of confidence for Albert Park 10K because the low 3 minute ones, I felt the pace, I got down there pretty easy to get down to that low 3 minute pace. It wasn't too much of a stretch. And it really felt like I had the brakes on for the slower ones. So nice little workout. I've never done it before. I've always done it as 1K on 1K float, which is just a very difficult workout I always find. But having the 1 minute breaks in between, made it, a very nice workout.
When you were doing this session, Brady, so 302s was, pretty close to your 10K pace. But in training, Like
effort was much higher.
You didn't feel like you could hold that for 10K
no.
that morning.
Definitely not. Yeah, great point to make there, Croaks. No, I'm very much like, even in, I think it was the last one, I thought, I really want to, give this one a bit of a squirt. And I think it still was 3:01. Like, it wasn't, I felt like I was almost chasing a bit of confidence, going, I'll give it a bit of a squirt here and see if you can get down to 2:57, 58. But no, this was definitely not 10K effort on the day. This was trying to run a pace I thought I could possibly run on the weekend.
Yeah.
So yeah,
it shows the impact a race makes as well in terms of perceived effort. Because I was the same on Tuesday, 3:17s for a 10-minute rep, and averaged on my watch 3:19s for the race, and it's there's no way I could have held that 3:17 for probably 30 minutes on Tuesday night.
You're spot on. I very much needed that 1 minute jog at I reckon I was jogging at 5:30, 6 minute K pace to then back into a 3:12, 3:15. To think that I could hold 10 of those in a row at that pace 4 or 5 days later, it just shows the difference about how you can turn it on and off in a race. I did 6K in the Arvo that day at 5 minute K pace. Wednesday I did 90 minutes at 4:37 pace, pretty standard. Thursday I did 55 minutes at 4:48. Listener rode to Gold Coast. Enjoyed Al. That was a good chat with those guys. This week's going to be interesting when they recap Launceston.
Oh, it's going to be great.
There.
It's going to be ideal.
Hopper nearly beat Reese.
Al was good. I enjoyed that chat. I still got 25 minutes to go.
Yeah, it was good.
You got to the bit where he told Reese to put some tights on instead of the splitties?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, he would have got to that.
Was that
because the weather was cold?
Okay, yeah.
He's trying to get
go home and get changed. Put some half tights on.
Trying to get a bit of that Craig Mottram professionalism into Reese Edwards.
What do you reckon he said when he rocked up in a polo shirt that day?
Tennis courts are over there.
Yeah, that was good. That was that. Yeah, it's going to be interesting listening this week for sure. Saturday I did 55 minutes. No, sorry, Friday I did 13K before school, and I did 8x30 strides in that, just to kind of tick the legs over. Wouldn't call it a session, but I just wanted something with a bit of intensity before the race on Sunday. Did 7K after work that day at 4:40s. Saturday was just 55 minutes easy, 4:45s. Then I drove to Bendigo Saturday night. Stayed at my parents' house, and then it was just a bit easier to get to Melbourne from Bendigo. So, the race was at 9 a.m, which wasn't too bad. I think I was up at maybe 5:10, in the car at 6. Melbourne at 8, and then race at 9. So I really didn't know what to expect. It was a real just see where my fitness is at. There was a big lead pack. So, when the gun went, everyone fangs at the first 200, 300 metres at that race moose before you have to take the turn. So pretty hectic off the start there. Will Lewis from APS, Western A's, he kind of said to me, what are you looking to run today? And I said, I'll be happy with a 30:45. And I said to him, but we're running at 28:20 pace at the moment, so we've got to settle things down a bit. So then, big lead pack formed. I was in the chase pack with some smart runners, I reckon, people who can just execute good races. So Michael Kernahan was there. Craig Huffer, boys, you'd remember Craig Huffer.
Mm-hmm.
So he just appeared 2K in, and he just appeared and went to the front of the pack. One of the smoothest movers you'll see as well.
He's not in this photo of yours.
He pulled out. He just walked off. He actually gapped our pack at about, I'm going to say 4K. And then at 7K, he just started jogging on the side of the road. So I'm not sure what happened there. Who else is in the pack? Will Lewis, he was in there for a while. Shane Grund, he was there. Or Zaid Al-Syed, he was there as well. And we just kind of worked together. I did stuff all work, to be honest. I was very happy sitting in, but it felt like someone was always willing to keep the pace honest. So we went through 5K in 15:09, and then it was just cool. We were just picking up carnage off the front pack, going past guys. Our group was still probably 5 or 6 of us at 9K. Then I tried to make a bit of a move at about 9.2K because most of these guys are 10, 15 years younger than me. Will Lewis is a 3:39, 1,500 metre guy. I was thinking, there's no way do I want to be running into the athletics track with these boys hot on my heels. My move probably lasted a good 45 to 50 metres before I realised there was no move. Similar to that year I tried to outkick you there, Croaks, I reckon. Not much was happening. So I then jumped back in. At this stage, I'm watching Archie is blown from the lead pack, and he's probably let 15 guys go past him over the last 3K, and then we're like 50 metres off him coming into the stadium, and we had a real big kick down finish. Probably 5 or 6 of us. I think there was 6 of us who finished within a second of each other. Everyone just rolls past Archie with 100 metres to go. At this stage, he hasn't responded to anyone passing him until I pass him with about 60 metres to go. And then he comes home on my outside like bloody Usain Bolt. Found something to go past the old fella. So, it was fun. Finished off in 30-12 for 11th spot overall. Perfect weather. It's usually terrible weather there, but it was perfect. Yeah, good day, good race. Kind of a bit surprising that I haven't done much mileage, so I wasn't sure how my strength would be over 10k, but as we kind of said before, that consistency is probably king, and I've probably put enough together that I can still string a decent 10k together, and just racing conservative early, which just puts you in a great situation to have a nice experience out there and pass people and come home full of running, which is really enjoying about my run at the moment. It's a week of 130k.
All that marathon training that you've done, so many people think that, because I've not done much for the month after the marathon, that, I'm pretty much starting back at base fitness again. But I often find if you respect the marathon for those first few weeks and then you get back into just some not even super hard sessions, your fitness is still there, which you've just proven. It was similar to when I ran my marathon PB. It was 8 weeks later, I was running pretty well at Sydney 10 off not a lot of training off the back of the marathon. Yeah. So it stays with you for quite a while.
I do think I'm going to keep the mileage at the lower end though with these AV races coming up. Just keep them at 120, 130k, one session a week, get the intensity from a race every second week, and then almost just do this until it's time to build for Chicago. Which would be 18, maybe 2 or 3 weeks after Gold Coast. Because I'm really enjoying it. And it's good for the family life, not doing doubles every day. And, it's not too stressful. And I feel if you can do one workout a week where it's, 5 or 6 mile reps at threshold and then a couple of 1-minute efforts, and maybe some the hills on the Saturday, I feel like I'm ticking a lot of boxes with that kind of weekly setup. I'll play around with that the next couple of weeks, report back.
Still working.
Yeah.
Definitely working.
Yeah, feels good.
You.
Feels good.
Yeah.
Should we thank some Patreon supporters, fellas? Let's go and do that. Who you got, Croaks?
I got Ryan Cook from Narrowena, which is up near Manly in Sydney. Has run 20:52 at the Curl Park Run, 43:18 for 10k at the Bennelong Bridge Run, and 98 minutes at the recent Ballarat Half. He also ran 3 hours 48 at the 2019 Melbourne Marathon. He's a dad and pretty sure he's a group sales director at News Corp. So thank you, Ryan.
Big dog at news.com.au. Did you guys get that email? He sent us an email recently. Did I forward that to you? He's a runner PB fella as well. Coached by Chris Armstrong.
Get it, but...
Yeah,
what's his email?
I was hooking us up with the article from the Herald Sun last week, which was good. Because it was behind a paywall. I think we were talking about it on one of the or the bonus episode we did about the controversy last week. So he's a good fella.
He
Thanks, Ryan.
buys his shoes at the running company Geelong. Always good for a chat about what's new, and good loyal customer as well.
Good guy. Who you got, Moose?
I have Lucinda Grace Evians. Is that a mistake, a typo, Croaks?
Don't think so, Moose. No, it's cut
Evians.
and pasted.
Right. Edge Hill, Cairns. So that's in Queensland. Obviously, we talked about how hard it is to run up there. Best 5K, 23:31 from Cairns Park Run, which runs down along the foreshore down there, the Lagoony area. She ran a 3:24 at the 2022 Gold Coast Marathon and a 4:23 at the 2022 Gold Coast 50K. Ooh, doubles in a bit of the ultra stuff. reckon she's got a background in surf lifesaving as well. There you go. Thanks, Lucinda.
Thanks, Lucinda, for your support. I've got Tony Shaw from Upper Coomera. Whereabouts is that, Bradley?
Oh, so Coomera is where Dreamworld is.
Oh, yeah, in that area, near the theme parks. They're all together, aren't they?
Yep.
Appears to be living around Ipswich at the moment, though. He's around 17:17 at Sandgate Park Run. That's the park run where they all run fast once a year in Queensland. 35:21 for the 2009 Gold Coast 10K. Moose, I want to know which one his best PB is here, because looking at those two, they're pretty close. 79:17 at the 2023 Gold Coast Half Marathon, and 2:57 at last year's Sydney Marathon.
10K's a bit better.
10K the best?
Better. Yeah, 10K's the best.
How's this for a title? He's an e-commerce assistant at Nutrition Warehouse. So massive thanks for your support of the Inside Running podcast, Tony, Lucinda, Ryan, all our Patreon supporters that keep the show alive each and every week. Been doing it for 344 weeks continuously. So, without your support of the Inside Running podcast, it just doesn't happen. So a massive thank you to you guys. What happened? Last week was big on Patreon. So we had Chriso on the ground in Oslo. So he sent through some audio with Jess Hull, with Dathan Ritzenheim, with Stewy, with Oli Hoare. So that went on the Patreon feed. You also got our kind of unscripted, fresh thoughts about the women's marathon saga, all the kind of news that was coming out last. I think we recorded that Wednesday or Thursday. So that was a bit of a unscripted, just talk for 30, 35 minutes. And also you get Road to Gold Coast if you're on the extra level at Patreon. So if you like supporting stuff that brings you value, hopefully our show is one of those things, you can support us at patreon.com/Inside Running Podcast for more details. Let's go to running news, boys. Oslo Diamond League, Friday morning, Croaks.
Yeah, it feels like ages ago now, because there was Stockholm last night. But another Aussie record went down, boys. We'll start with the women's 3K. So the commentators, they were sort of talking how it was almost Jess Hull's race to win. And, going into the last lap down the back straight, she sort of put in a bit of a move and was in the front. But Georgia Griffith was still there, and her last 150 was super impressive. Now Georgia's only run, this was her second 3K, and I remember we commented the first 3K she did, which must have been the Aussie title, she ran 8:37 or something like that, which was pretty good debut. Anyway, she ran 8:24.2 to break Jess Hull's Aussie record by 0.19 of a second. Likina Amebaw was second in 8:24.29. And Jess Hull held on for third in 8:25.82. We also had Rose Davies, who was 12th in 8:35, which was a PB, and Lauren Ryan was 14th in 8:42. Do you guys see it?
Yeah.
I had a look at this one. I wanted to watch it because I wanted to see how it went down, because it's not often that an Australian wins a Diamond League. And, a national record, we've seen a lot more lately, but only by a few people. So Georgia Griffith wasn't on the radar for me to breaking a national record, but maybe that's my ignorance.
There were in hindsight now, when you saw how hard she closed in that Sydney 3K, you can kind of see where it's come from. Because remember, Jess went early, I'm going to say 450 at that race. And then Georgia probably ran a quicker last 200, but Jess was probably too far ahead to catch.
Yeah, well, this one here was dominant in that last 150 metres. It kind of excited me looking at how she finished, thinking she could be an absolute player in the Olympics if this is the kind of kick down she can execute off such a fast pace. Maybe 1500's not her go. Maybe she's a 5K runner. We just haven't really seen it yet.
Or she's a bit like Stewy. You almost argue that 3K is Stewy's best race.
Yeah.
And it's almost Georgia's sort of, she hasn't run a 5K, I don't think, but you can sort of sense that 3K is her distance.
Yeah.
So that was the women's 3K. Men's 1500. This was an awesome finish. So Jakob Ingebrigsten, he won the race in a world-leading time of 3:29.74. he was in front, wasn't he, Brady, down the straight, and then Cheruiyot sort of went past him, and right on the line, Jakob just went full Superman, like dived. It was an awesome launch, because I reckon it's pretty hard to, like, if you're running flat out, you're fatigued, to actually get yourself into that Superman position would be actually really hard to do. And the dive was what got him the win. So he was 329.74 to Cheruiyot's 329.77. Azzedine Habs, who we spoke about from one of the Diamond Leagues, he was third in 330.8. Oli Hoare was sixth in 331.08. So that was another Olympic qualifying time. Stewy was 14th in 338, so not a great day for Stewy. And Nordas was 13th in 334.
Yeah.
Any comments?
Well, the first one about Jakob, like, it shows how much he cared to win in front of his home crowd, which I loved. Like, you kind of risk an injury doing that dive.
Do you reckon he meant to do it, or do you reckon he was just falling and he?
Nah, he meant to do it. You could see that he could see it was like this attempt to win the race.
I loved it. I'm back on Team Jakob, I reckon. Is he now the underdog because he's coming off the injury?
I don't know. I still reckon in a way he's favourite, because he was pretty close to Kerr, and I feel like Kerr's had a much better prep, whereas Jakob, I think, is going to keep improving week on week.
Oli Hoare now goes to the top on the road to Paris list. Cam Myers moves to the 4th position. Not that it means anything, but, well, it means something, doesn't it? Maybe it's going to be selectors. It's going to be selectors' discretion again.
What do we know about what the selectors are looking for? We don't know anything what they're looking for.
Zero transparency with the old selectors.
All right, men's 5K. This was actually a pretty fascinating race. So there was a fair few big dogs in this one: Gebruet, Kajelcha, Kiplimo, Cheptegei, and all those guys were there sort of at the business end. Cheptegei did drop off and finished 9th in 12:51. But Gebruet, who has been around for ages, like I think he's in his 30s now, he won the race in 12:36.73. It was a world leading time. It was a national record, and it was the second fastest time of all time. His last lap was 54.99. And so he beat Kajelcha, who was second, in 12:38.95. Kiplimo was third in 12:40.96. There were 6 national records in this race. This was incredible. Like, to run 54.99 off this sort of pace, I think the lap before that was maybe a 59.
Yeah,
incredible.
This is it. I didn't watch this, but I'm going to go back and watch it, because when you're seeing times that only one man before is beaten, and that guy is Kenenisa Bekele, you need to go and watch this race. Cheptegei. My bad. Sorry about that.
So he's ahead of Bekele now.
It makes your statement even more like real.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. So was it fast from the gun? Like, did they go out with a pace? Actually, I saw the start of it. Davies pace, didn't he? Callum Davies.
Yeah, I think I threw in like 7:40 or something like that. But it was like the world record was never been like spoken about here, and they actually got like pretty close. But they only got close because he closed in like 54.99. I haven't. What is the world record?
Well, I haven't actually fact check this, but someone did send this through as a stat. Callum Davies has paced 7 out of the 11 fastest 5,000 meter races ever. That's really? A pretty incredible stat. I'm not sure if that's true or not. Well, I haven't fact checked it at all. I've just.
You went on Wikipedia. You went Wikipediaing again.
No. Someone sent that to me. Now I'm actually really doubting it, because has he paced 7 5Ks? That's a lot of 5Ks to be pacing.
Yes, the Cheptegei's run 12:35.36 and Bekele ran 12:37.35. So he sort of slots right in there, which is exciting when you're given like how early on they are in the season.
Hasn't he got a history, Gebruet, of like running super fast but then not being a player at the championships, like later in the season?
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I did see a post that I think there was a few people that were quite skeptical of this, like a guy that's been around this long, closing that fast off that sort of pace. It was like almost too good to believe in a way. But who knows? We'll move on to the women's 8. It was won by Prudence Segodaso in 158.66. Natoya Gould-Toppin was second, 159.1. Cat Bisset closed pretty hard to finish third in 159.29. And that was the Oslo Diamond League.
Pretty well tactics from Cat Bisset. I thought she was going to do similar to what she did the week before, where she kind of, stayed at the back and still ran fast but didn't take too many bodies. But she took a lot of bodies in that home straight. She
did. And I did see an interview after the race where she knew that they were all going to go a lot faster than what they wanted initially. And I think that's why she went past a lot of people, was because it was pretty quick early.
So then we go to Stockholm. What was that last night?
Yeah, so I watched that this morning. So we had, we'll start with the women's 1500. Laura Muir got the win here, 357.99. Edna Jebitok was second, 358.88. Georgia Griffith, she backed up from the 3K and ran third in 359.17. We also had Lyndon Hall, who was seventh in 401. And Sarah Billings was 12th in 4:10. So not a great run for Sarah, which my question for you boys now is, given what Georgia did in the 3K, she's finished second at Nationals in the 1500. She's run under 4 minutes now, multiple times. You got to say that she's pretty much a lock for a spot in the women's 1500. So Jess is already selected. I'm putting Georgia Griffith in the team. Now, this leaves one more spot in the women's 15, and we've got Lyndon Hall, who was the Australian record holder. You've had Sarah Billings, who's broken 4 minutes this season. Then you've got the likes of Claudia Hollingsworth and Abby Caldwell. It's going to be tough, isn't it?
I didn't see where this is going to go already.
It's very tough because our recent viewing has been Georgia Griffith, and she broke the 3K national record, and she come third in a Diamond League here. But around domestic season, all we were talking about was Claudia Hollingsworth and Abby Caldwell. They were the two standouts.
She wasn't competitive against those two
in Australia.
But then Abby's last 1500 was quite poor. She'd only run one recently, and it wasn't very good. It was similar time to what Sarah ran. I think she may have run 4:12 actually, Abby.
Yeah, so the selection is so difficult here because, how recent is the form that you're looking at with the selection? Are you looking at what they did domestically? I did think that in the criteria it mentions the domestic performances as part of the criteria, but then we've still got a few months to the races, the actual Olympics. So the heats, the finals, you don't need to see Claudia Hollingsworth running fast right now, do you?
No, I think second at the trials often should count for something. I know that in the past they've often sort of looked at if you finish first and second at the trials and you got the time, then you're a good chance of going. But then Claudia and Abby didn't run the trial because they ran the 800. And look, I don't even know if
it wasn't the trial though, Croaks. It was the national champs. Yeah.
But I don't even know if you can actually double up in the 8 and 15 at the Olympics. I don't know the timetable. I haven't looked at it. But it's going to be tough because I feel like Lyndon probably needs to do a little bit more than what she's been doing. In terms of the Road to Paris, website, she's number 2. She's number 2 because you've obviously got Jess, who's now the Aussie record holder, and then you had Lyndon, who broke the Aussie record last year. But she hasn't sort of come anywhere close to that form recently. So, it's going to be a tough one.
Watch this space. What do we got? A month until that's closed off, end of June.
Yeah.
Big month coming.
Let's hope they've learned a few things before now and then.
Who?
Maybe around the AA, the selection follow.
I almost think this one's going to be, I don't know, I can't say this one's going to be harder because the marathon one was pretty damn difficult. But when you look at, Georgia, Lyndon, Abby and Claudia, how do you and Sarah, I suppose. Like, how do you split those 5 girls for 2 spots?
This
Selectors'
last
discretion,
maybe
mate. Opinions.
When did you say the cutoff is?
End of June.
You've got a month of racing. I wonder if we see like the OAC girls, even in 800, Bendiria Boyer going over racing in Europe. Do we see Claudia Hollingsworth in Europe?
Are they still here locally? Because I haven't seen really them since our domestic season stopped.
Yeah, I think they might be. I'm not sure though exactly.
Okay.
Well, I guess if they doubled up some of the girls, like if they selected a Claudia or an Abby, it would free up a bed, and then maybe Liam could get a start in the marathon, because I believe that it's to do with beds.
That's worth noting. We'll do that now.
We'll
do it when we get to the marathon announcement team. Yeah.
All right. Men's 3K. So Nordas bounced back from a pretty poor 1500 to win this one in 7:33.49. I think they wanted to go more like 7:30 pace, but no one really wanted to go with the pacemakers there. Dominic Labalou was second, 7:33.68. Louis Gravala was third, 7:33.96, and Stewy was seventh in 7:36. It was a weird race from Stewy. He sort of was towards the back of the field, and then maybe with 2 laps to go, moved up into a pretty good position. But then over the course of the next lap, sort of got filtered back a little bit. And then at the bell, he was out like on that first bend after the bell. He was out in like lane 2. It was just a bit messy from him. But, 7:36, season's best. Men's 8, Sajadi won in a world-leading time of 1:43.23, and Lemecha Gurma won in a world-leading time of 8:01 for the men's steeple. And that was the Diamond Leagues for the week.
Good recap, Krogs. Best in the business at recapping a Diamond League. Moves take me to Launceston. There was a half marathon and 10K down there. Probably the biggest 10K in Australia, I'd say, domestically. The biggest hyped one, fastest times.
Yeah, I mean, Bernie, I always like watching Bernie. I reckon, I'm not sure recently if that's been the one, but I like Bernie.
I'll give it to you. Either or.
Yeah.
Launceston was never around when Bernie was like really big. So I reckon Launceston started about 2007. Because I know I went down there in 2008. And I've got a feeling that was the second year of it. But Bernie's been around, for years.
Yeah, maybe the history is what I like. There was a half marathon. Yep, had 2 big dogs down there. Well, actually more than that, 3 really. So you had Brett Robinson. He won the half in 63.12. He likes it down there. I reckon he's had a few wins. Liam Adams though was second, 63.42, and he's beaten Riley Cox 64.05. But the ladies, Sinead Diver 72.10. So first time we've seen Sinead race since, I'm going to say maybe Bernie last year, I reckon. Bernie was Bernie after Sydney or before?
After, yeah. And then other than that, she did a pacing job.
Yes, so 72.10 for Sinead in her return to racing. Abigail Nordberg 73.01. And Millie Clark 76.04. In the 10K, very close finish. Sprint finish, blanket. I think it was photo on the line. Isaac Hayne from Adelaide beat Ed Marks from Victoria. 28.34 was their times. Reckon Isaac caught him down the finish straight and has just snuck past him to win that and get the chocolates. Seth O'Donnell was third, 28.56. Now, that's a bit frustrating, isn't it, just seeing these names pop up in this 10K when Lakeside was on? I'm just like, these guys are AV runners.
Weird clash. Unnecessary. Got to
probably
be better
not a
than
good
that now,
clash,
sport.
right? Yeah. Like, not with two of the premier road 10Ks in the country on the same day. Like, I get that you could clash a half or a cross country with a road race or whatever, but two of the same, like for likes.
So who's to blame here, Moose? Because I got a feeling that the Launceston event would have been locked in, because you know how the fun runs are often locked in like a year out, because you often do the race and then you'll get an email the next day saying entries, or next year's event will be this date.
Yeah, it's very common in the fun run scene.
Whereas when do you reckon AV decided that Lakeside would be this date?
Well, their calendar doesn't come out until like Feb, March for these April, May, June races. But then I don't know how the availability around, like I can't imagine there's too many events that happen there on a Sunday morning.
Yeah, I don't know at all.
But yeah.
I would think, I'm with you. I think you'd be right though, Croaks. I reckon they lock in that first. I reckon in terms of announcements, Albert Park and XCR season gets locked in quite late. I'm talking like February, March, whereas Lonnie's probably locked in a year out at least, maybe 6 months. Anyway, Izzy Bat Doyle was the winner of the...
Jen
Actually,
Gregson.
sorry. Yeah, right. Messed that up. Sorry, my bad. Jen Gregson, she won the 10K down there at Lonnie. She ran 32.03, beat Eloise Wellings in 33.09, and Ella Higgins 34.30. So a few Olympians down there.
Yeah,
You got
check
Jen,
before, was it 10
Sinead,
weeks out?
Or from the Olympic Marathon?
Yeah, I think
Good
about
question.
that.
That's a great question. I haven't even looked at that. You should look at that now.
I'll look it up.
I just know Dathan corrected Chriso in that audio because Chriso said 8 weeks and he said, I think it's more 9-10.
For the Olympic Marathon or the...
Just the Olympics in general.
Well, that's different, isn't it? Because they could be 2 weeks apart, Brady.
Well, you've just got to put a window on it.
No, you don't. You can't correct someone over 1 week if it's the Olympics.
Yeah,
and
but
it
I'm
goes
just
over
saying,
2
it's in the 10-week range. What is it, Croaks? You found it?
It's the 10th of August.
How many weeks is that?
I'll
10.
tell you.
Maybe 9 weeks yesterday, I reckon. Pretty
Keep
close.
an eye on Strava then.
From this weekend, it'll be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
You could have just Googled how many weeks away is this date. Would have got it instantly.
What, they say?
What?
You don't have to
Google,
count it.
Google would tell you it straight away. I had to Google how old I was the other day. I'm like, am I 35 or 36? You just say, born in 87, how old am I?
9 weeks from this weekend.
From this weekend coming.
Yeah.
10. Is it on a Sunday? 10 weeks yesterday.
It's a Saturday.
Saturday. Oh, watch party Saturday night. A few beers. Mute your commentary on your TV. Have the Inside Running crew take you through the race.
It was going to be Saturday night.
Yeah, how good's that?
Not bad.
Not bad at all. You going to watch it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I
watch.
reckon it'll be on at a pretty good time for us because I'm guessing it's a morning race.
I didn't mean that. I meant some of the DMs you guys have been copping about
Yeah, I have
people
been
boycotting
copping a
not
lot of
watching
people.
it.
A lot of people have sort of got quite disillusioned with this whole selection fiasco and have sort of been just annoyed by it and pissed off by it. And they're like, I don't want to watch it. Anyway.
We'll get to that. Good racing down
Izzy
at
Bat
Launceston.
Doyle. Yeah, a lot of them racing there. No one really knocking one out of the park.
I think it was really cold though, wasn't it? Especially for the half marathons. Like 1 degrees, I think.
Yeah, it was freezing cold. I did see that. Like, I saw on maybe, was it Brett's run or Hopper's? Maybe I looked on Hopper's Strava and it was 1 feels like 0. That is cold. Especially racing. Like, that's like you're going a bit faster when you're racing. Just, you're on a bike. It's a lot colder. Speed, I don't know what it is. Wind. Anyway,
You're
Izzy
generating
Bat
wind, aren't you?
generating wind.
Isn't that the thing? Someone was telling me about this yesterday. Even when it's not windy, because if you're running at 3-minute K pace, you are producing wind with how fast you're working through the air.
Producing wind.
Like you are, like yes, how you're moving through the air, your speed is creating a resistance to the air. I sound like an idiot, but I swear someone smart told me this yesterday on the cool down.
Well, when I drive my car, it makes a whistling sound when I drive it fast because there's air going through it. And that's, I'm guessing, the resistance. Like, fuck, we're some geniuses. This is some good chat here.
If you're still with us, let's talk about Izzy Bat Doyle.
Well,
Jeez,
yeah, there was...
really fell off my seat yesterday when I saw this.
This was a big one that come through, and a few people picked it up, and I don't think quite understood it too well. But there was a 30:23. Izzy Bat Doyle ran that at the Madrid Vintage 10K. So this is a 10K road race. there were some big names in this field. Izzy won. It was a course record, and she beat Tiranish Dibaba, who is one of the all-time greats of distance running, male or female. So incredible result for Izzy. I think the race dropped like 114 metres over the 10Ks, so dropping over 10 metres per K, which makes it significantly downhill, which is why it won't count for any qualifying or records or anything. But still, in terms of the racing here, she has gone out and had a belter winning that thing. Would have been an interesting one to watch. Maybe there's YouTube footage somewhere, not sure, but very good.
Must be a good downhill runner, because like that is a skill to run fast downhills. Like,
yeah.
And I'm terrible at it, because one of the guys racing yesterday, like Alex, like he would just absolutely fly down the hill, almost like as if he has surged, but he hasn't put in any extra effort. He's just opened up his stride. I don't know how the people do it.
Going by Strava, Jack was there as well. So on his Strava, he ran 4 minutes and 22 seconds at 2:42 pace, but then he ran the next 32 minutes at 3:51 pace. So I don't know if he started and then was like, probably this is pretty steep downhill. This might not be good for me. I'm jogging it in.
Hopefully not injured.
Yeah, not sure.
I guess he
jogged today
completely.
though. Yeah. But yeah, he was definitely in action there as well, going by Strava. But yeah, funny how people went with it, broken the Australian record, this and that, and you're like, oh, do some research before you start celebrating these things on social media.
Yeah, pending course certification.
You're like, no.
Look, yeah. I don't think they're going to get it certified, guys.
I'll go to Victoria Lakeside 10K. So Dale Carroll got the win there, 29:23. I think he pretty close, pretty hard too, because I think they were maybe 29:48-ish maybe through 5K. Ben Chamberlain, Western Australian runner who's now living over here in Victoria, was second, 29:27. And then Harry Norman, who's a Victorian 5K champ, he was third in 29:42. Andrea Sekafian from Canada, who spent some time in Australia, won the women's in 32:36. Melissa Duncan was second, 32:41, so pretty close finish there. Sarah Klein, off her Great Ocean Road second place last week, was third in 32:49. It was deep, boys. 66 runners under 32 minutes. Compare that to Sydney 10K. There was 41 and 40 at Launceston. So I don't even know how many under 40, but there would have been a stack of people. It was just a flow of athletes coming in. Looking at the results.
I saw that stat, mate. I saw that stat. Let me pull that up.
Okay.
Yeah, it's out there. I think it's like 600 and something.
This is a concern for me, though. 723 men, 269 women. Where are the ladies at? That's a significant difference. So not sure where that's at, but it was well run, good event.
639 runners under 40.
Wow. Yeah, okay. So, yeah, not sure where the ladies are for Lakeside 10K, because the gap, gap of the last round wasn't that big.
That really reflects our sales of road running racing shoes, like male to female sort of split.
That's similar to that, is it?
Yeah, it's not far off that. In fact, it's probably more skewed towards the men's. It's not like we have a lot of women's shoes. We always do, but we just don't have a lot of women that are coming in for them. I think it's a pretty complicated matter, and there's a few pretty strong theories on it. But the numbers that are racing in that race, like that certainly reflects the sales of road racing shoes as well.
Aren't mass participation fun runs more women than men though?
Yeah, I saw a stat around. I think it might have even been when we were making that announcement about how many people went in the ballot for London Marathon. I think the women outnumbered the men, but I guess this is probably seen maybe as a bit more elite than than those fun runs.
Yeah,
I think they've got to get that misconception out though.
Yeah,
and try to get people feeling comfortable coming to these races because it's well organised, good race. You don't have to pay the AV registration fee. You can just pay your entry fee on the day, or not on the day, but prior to. I think it's obviously if every other fun run's selling out in Australia, what are you doing differently to try and get those ladies in more than 269 of them?
Well, I don't think there's the fun run vibe to it. Like, there's no entertainment or that whole pre-race thing, post-race thing. Yeah, like you're finishing and there's a bit of an expo or whatever. Like that sort of stuff makes a day for the rec runner. Whereas here it's just bare bones, skeleton type, show up, race as hard as you can, take off straight away.
Yeah, put some cones down, get out of there.
Yeah, it's a different vibe.
Yep. Brisbane Marathon, last bit of news from me. Seiki Makino, I think visiting Australia from Japan, he won 2:24.01. Eve Muir was first female in 2:54.37. Good friend of the show, Tim Vincent. Our Patreon supporters will remember Tim from Road to Gold Coast last year. He won the men's in 64.07. Tennille Alice won the women's in 79.03. Jack Bruce won the men's 10K in 29.49. And Gabrielle Smith won the women's in 35.42. Not the fastest course in the world from all accounts, so some quick times up there. And then the final bit of news, boys, was the women's and men's marathon team got announced today by the AOC, Athletics Australia. Lakeside Stadium, 10 a.m. was the media release details. I think they wheeled Mona out to do some stuff there as well. Anna Mears was there. And the team was Brett Robinson and Pat Tiernan in the men's, and Sinead Diver, Genevieve Gregson, and Jess Stenson in the women's. No Liam Adams announcement, which was my first bit of concern because this team was really announced a week ago by news sources, which was so weird that it was leaked and all that stuff happened before it officially got announced. But talking to Liam today, he is still hopeful that he will get a position in the Olympics and is training and preparing like that is the case, but does understand that the wait might be as late as, I do have a date here I just want to read.
7th of July, I think.
7th of July. So, yeah, like we're talking a month or 5 weeks. So, of course, a lot of emotional stress on him, not knowing if he's made it or not. I thought it was weird that when they released the statements today, there was no mention of Liam. Like, even a quick sentence about we're trying hard to get Liam's spot sorted or what we could do there. There was also no announcement about how the selectors use their discretion, what they looked for to be able to select the team. I don't like that. I haven't liked any of the comms that have come out of Athletics Australia the last week. I found their statement around all the controversy very defensive, very aggressive, like we're doing what we want to do and, put up with it kind of thing.
Oh, how dare you question us?
How dare you question us? Yeah, stuff like that. I felt like I was getting...
You mentioned that there might be bias within our ranks.
Yeah, I felt that very... like I was getting yelled at. Not that it was directed at me, but I felt like it was very defensive and, do not question our principles kind of thing. It's been great seeing, or not great, it's been interesting, I guess, seeing like Sally Pearson come out over the last couple of days. Lee Troop come out yesterday. His comments were around the bias on the selection panel. We're seeing John Steffensen come out. I did love that there was, in his article, there was a bit saying how he is contracted. He does work for Athletics Australia, which I find, when people have paying jobs with the organisation, there's obviously some kind of conflict of interest there. What kind of quotes and stuff are you going to wheel out in your statements and stuff? So an absolute shit show, I think, the last week. And I personally don't know how I'm at the stage now where I actually don't care who's on our team. I am so frustrated, confused. I have that many questions about the processes, the procedures, the stuff that happens behind closed doors that, I was saying someone today, my nickname's the frother, like the froth monster. I love athletics more and running more than anyone in this country, I like to think, and I have this yuck kind of feeling about the whole process and the procedures, and I worry that it has hurt people's reputations who are on and off the team. I don't know how to feel, boys. I'm kind of not lost for words, but just, I hated the Lachlan MacArthur tweet. I hated the pressure it puts on the women on the team. I hate how wishy-washy the selection process, all the selection criteria was. I hated that they didn't change the panel after the appeals tribunal suggested they do change the selection panel. I just think there's so many different angles to all these stories that I am confused, got questions, and don't know how I feel about the whole process. I'm not talking about any individuals here at all.
So do you think AA or the selectors should make a statement on every single athlete that's picked on a team as to why they've been selected, and that should be made public?
Not necessarily, because it might. When they do that, it actually opens them up to then, if they don't use exactly the same discretion in the future, that it's going to come back to bite them, kind of thing. Troopy summed it up beautifully in his article yesterday. It's like, and I felt like the inside athletics article was really good as well. Like, these women are trying to get selected in a team, and they have no idea what discretion the selectors are going to use.
Well, do you know the bit that I don't like? It's that it seems like the selection has been made on historical events, not so much recent historical events, but very old events, like how someone performed, say, like Jen. She had a great Olympics in 2016 when she made the final of the steeplechase. And there was heavy weight given to those types of performances, when to me that's totally irrelevant to how someone's performed over the marathon in the last 12 months. And that's very confusing to me, because how is someone like Izzy going to outperform that?
Another thing I hate, how Izzy's been left out of all these conversations.
Eloise too, really. If you're considering that, because Eloise also made the final at the 5K final at Rio.
Yep.
Yeah.
Maddie Heiner as well.
And it's like that saying, it's, like the superannuation ads love to use it. It's like, past results don't influence future results. Like, just because somebody maybe didn't have a great Olympics or a World Championships in the past, it doesn't mean that they're not going to this time around. And that's when the discretion comes in, because that's what they're using the discretion for. But it's like it doesn't serve any purpose, or it's not helpful at all.
Yeah, no. It was interesting to see some of the some people call out biases within the selection committee as well. And
I have another question on that then. So, obviously just about, I think everybody that's on that selection panel has a background in athletics. So you've got, Chris Erickson, race walker, Sean Crichton, distance runner. You got Caitlin Pincock, who's Benita's sister, who was a 400 runner.
Benita Willis' sister, is it?
Yeah. Yep. Didn't you know that?
Nah, she's a lawyer as well, isn't she?
Yes. Then you've got, is it Tim O'Shaughnessy's wife? Is it all?
Yeah, Marianne.
Yep.
Yeah. What was her event?
I don't know off the top of my head, but yeah.
Well, I guess the point is that they've all been athletes in the past. And so who should the selection panel be then, if not people involved in athletics, like just punters?
Well, worth noting, that's the panel for every event.
It is, yeah.
The tricky thing about this is if you're going to use discretion, then you need highly experienced, very expert level panel. Like, you need people that have been around the sport, know its intricacies, have a good understanding of current form and the potential for improvement and those sorts of things. So you need someone who's been around the sport a long time. And if you are going to use discretion, then you have to have non-biased people on that panel. So you can't have someone who's potentially good friends with one of the athletes who's getting selected, which we know is the case on that panel. And I'm not going to get into specifics of that, but you need impartial people. And perhaps if one of the athletes who's nominated and is identified as having a relationship with someone on the selection panel, that's a good chance for that person to be like, I'm going to sit this one out, guys. This isn't right here.
Like, how far does that relationship go back, though, Moose? Because you've got, like, I know on the panel now, you've got people that have relationships with the athletes. You have other people that have pretty good relationships with their coaches. Like, at what level do we need to make sure that there is no relationship between the selectors and people being selected? Is it just the athlete, or is it their coach as well?
The right answer is to write a selection policy that does not include discretion.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
you don't
knows
really need.
out.
Yeah, you don't really need selectors because the athletes pick themselves because it's black and white.
Because of their athletic ability. Yeah.
Exactly, that's right. And so I wonder if that the advice that the selection panel be changed, I guess, or removed, or a new independent panel be put together by the Sports Tribunal.
Yep. From the appeal.
I wonder if that was due to their identifying certain biases or realising that it wasn't the most impartial selection committee. I'm not sure. I'm just sort of floating that.
Troopy put it good. We need to take some of this power from the selectors to give their opinion, and that's all it is, right? They don't look into a crystal ball and they don't know for a fact that this is how the athletes are going to perform. It's just based on opinion. In a black and white selection criteria, Lisa is definitely a leading athlete, but they've allowed their opinions or discretion to determine what that team is going to be. It needs to be asked why Lisa missed out and what propelled the other three women ahead of her. I found the AA statement to be pretty bland and without substance, to be perfectly honest, Troop added. It's just more of AA buckling down to say, we're right, we've got this, our decisions are final, and we've got the right people that have made those calls. But as far as a fan of the sport and someone that represented Australia, I am thinking, hang on, I don't think you did. My thoughts are with all the women involved in this debacle. That was from Zachary Gates' article, Wide World of Sport. Worth noting, he's been doing some brilliant... he's probably the main journalist who's been covering this stuff extensively. Worth noting, we are not journalists and stuff, of course. We're just two school teachers and the guy who owns a running store. But geez, I felt like I've been a journalist the last couple of days. The amount of DMs I've got about the potential links that people have had. People are pulling Facebook posts from 2016 and websites and this and that. And if you go down some of these rabbit holes, it gets very, very... And that's probably where some of my yuck feeling is coming from, that I'm like, oh, did you guys, like Troopy said, is like, did you guys get this right? Like, was this a fair system?
All AA need to do is come out and go, these are the reasons why we selected these athletes. Yeah. This was the decision made by the committee, and these were the reasons that they made that decision. And that removes all of the bullshit, the innuendo, the little whispers, all of that, and it just clears everything up, and we can all move on. But we're still sitting here in the dark as to it, even after the announcement today, and we will be forever by the sounds of it. So, look, I reckon it's a good chance to move on, though. I reckon we put that in the rearview mirror, and now we do celebrate the team. So we have Sinead, we have the Australian record holder on the team. So that's a 10th at the last Olympics. Huge in for us. Like if you were picking the team for your grand final, Brady, and last year someone's won the Norm Smith, you want that person to be on the team, first pick.
Go on, significantly faster than everyone else, yeah.
Yeah, just our fastest runner of all time, and also like by a long shot right now. Yeah. You've got Jess Stenson, who has won the Com Games. She ran a sort of pretty slow course in Daegu and ran very fast. And she's only got an upside here. She's coming off still the rebuild from pregnancy, so huge upside there. And then you've never really had a bad result at like a major championship. It's always been like super consistent at World Champs, Com Games.
Highest Australian female ever at a World Champs with her 9th spot in London in 2017.
Yeah, solid. Also can handle some tough conditions in terms of like hills, that kind of thing, which Paris is, very hilly race. Then Jen Gregson, who is a run 2 marathon. One was pretty good feeler, and then the next one nailed it. And also on the up has proven sort of results on the big stage. Seems to never get injured anymore. Like, seems pretty consistent in terms of being able to link together big campaigns. And also, when she gets on the road, almost impossible to beat. So that's a crazy strong women's field. We're sending our best ever women's marathon team, that's for sure.
Hey, just clip that. Who's has done your job for you here? This is pumped up the 3 people. He said this is a dream team. You've nailed it. These are the reasons why.
Yeah, well, there was always going to be someone miss out, and there was never
3 people.
Or 3 people, yeah. Anyway, we're moving on from that, Brady. Stop dragging us back into the mud, mate.
Looking forward to not talking about it for a long time. So I spent way too long on social media reading all the comments and stuff last week, which was an absolute train wreck. Some of the comments and the responses, and it was a dangerous place to be. Even the post today. Did you see the post today? No one congratulating them. It was just like bang, bang, bang.
I've got one more question, because you boys are very much into your team sports, like with your AFL.
Yep.
And at the end of the day, like, teams have selectors and they choose certain athletes to represent their team and they leave other athletes out. Like, do you see this, like, amount of uproar in team sports as we've seen for this women's marathon team? About,
Oh, like a guy gets left off for the grand final.
John
Noble.
Going, there's bias. Like, why have you played that guy and not that guy?
No one ever brings up biased.
Because essentially this is the same thing. It's like, we're sending a team away. The selectors have to choose 3 out of the 6 that they've got at their disposal. And it's
The difference is this is once every 4 years. It's a lot heavier weighted than that type of decision. And there's only 3 people on the team, not 6. I mean, not 22. So it's like, and then that, like, if you've got 22 people in there, then that decision at the end, you're looking at your 23rd or your 24th best player to come into the team. It's not like is cutthroat, I don't think.
Yeah, and this is where the selection, like, for a sport like track and field, where it's so black and white with its times, its distance, its height. Like, the selection criteria needs to be written in a way that, like, you basically know whether you're on the team or not at the end of the qualification period. It doesn't even need to go to selectors.
You're picking yourself with your ability.
Yep.
Men's team.
Bit easy to pick.
I've said the men's team. Brett.
Still controversy of it.
Well, it is, but it's not really to do with like our federation.
Geez, I hope they're batting hard for Liam behind closed doors, though.
Well, it sounds like World Athletics are, but it's the IOC that are the ones sort of knocking them back because to do with beds. And that's what I was saying before. It's like, if, Australia picks some athletes to double up, like your Abby Caldwell or your Claudia Hollingsworth, like, there's an extra bed, because whereas if you pick, Lyndon in the 1500 instead of Abby or Claudia, then they're going to need 1 extra bed. But yeah,
it seems insane that this is the issue here.
Yeah, take a swag.
Yeah, you know what? He's stated he doesn't give a shit where he stays. He doesn't care if he's in the village or what.
T's though, Moose.
Bloke just wants to run the Olympics, and
that is qualified for.
It shows a real lack of compassion. The AOC, like, they just don't care about the athletes here, just to sort of go, oh, you were qualified, but you're not anymore. Mm-hmm. I think it's a fuck up from World Athletics, big time. But I also think that there's just a real lack of compassion for the actual individuals here, like Liam.
It used to always annoy me, like things with relays, because you send your relay team plus you send a couple of reserves, and you've got your 4 relay runners plus maybe 2 reserves. So you're sending 6 for a relay when like, do they deserve to go to the Olympics more than a guy that has genuinely qualified through the system? Like, yeah, it's weird.
Yep,
That'd be guys from the 100 and 200 too, wouldn't they? They'd be doubling up a
No,
bit.
very rarely they qualified in that. Very rarely.
Okay. That's that. Switch that off. Move on. Listen to question, Croaks. What do we got?
I'll do the top one. How many years of training should you do before moving to the marathon? And that comes in from Nick Watson.
Good question, Nick. Depends how seriously you want to run a marathon.
Yeah, that's a good answer, Brady. What if you wanted to? All right. What if you want to be serious?
More years.
You putting a number on it?
Well, it's hard because you don't know how many times a week Nick's running, what his goals are, what's his history. It used to be, it's such a surprise these days because people go to the marathon really quickly. Like back in when I was, 18, 20, 22, it's like you don't start thinking about running a marathon until you're...
What year was that?
28, 30.
What year was that?
When I was 18, 2005, yeah.
2008, Sammy Wanjiru. How old was he? 21?
Yeah, he was different, wasn't he? He's not the stereo. He wasn't, especially in Australia, we had a lot of guys go to the marathon when their track careers were over.
That's kind of when I started, though. That's what I was sort of getting at. Like, it did start to change. But I don't think Nick's asking about
Sammy.
About Sammy or that sort of level. Would you?
Now it's more of a bucket list. I have no idea what kind of runner Nick is, but now I feel like there's a lot more people I know in my general life now who have ran a marathon to tick one off and go and run, maybe at a destination marathon than I knew 10 years ago. It was pretty much just runners would do marathons. Yeah. And you would run for a long period of time before you even thought about running a marathon.
I generally try and hold people back longer than what they initially want, because I just think so the problem with, to run a marathon well, you need to do a certain amount of training. And you can't do that amount of training unless you've developed the foundation, which takes time. And so you need to start off developing that foundation, and that foundation includes, it's generally less mileage to start with. It's focusing on the shorter distances. And then once you've built that volume up, then you can actually do the marathon prep justice. So I'm often holding people back who come to me and say, hey, I want to run a marathon in 12 weeks. And you look at how much they're training. It's like, well, you'd be better off just getting yourself better as an overall athlete, improve your 5K, improve your 10K to the point that what you're currently running for 10K in a few years' time will probably be slower than the pace that you're running for the marathon.
Yeah, that's how to run a marathon as fast as you potentially could for your fitness. That's the ideal way if you want to do that. Except a lot of people just want to run a marathons. That's just what they want to do. And who are we to gatekeep someone from going and running a marathon?
Yeah, do what you want with your life.
Yeah, if someone comes and says, I want to run a marathon in 6 months, I never run before, I would say, good on you. That's fucking cool. Let's do that. Let's run a marathon. And maybe they're not going to run it as fast as their next one in 1 year, but it doesn't mean you can't do it. I don't know about... I've sort of... If someone did come to me and said, I want to run 220, then we're going to change how we approach it based off their current situation. And maybe it does take 2 years before they run that marathon. But so it's very different for different individuals. Brady answered that in the first line.
Yeah, I should say I do follow it up with, at the end of the day, you're not a professional athlete. You do this for fun. So if the marathon is what you want to do, then we'll do it. But, if you want to sort of be if you want to be the best athlete you can be over the marathon, then we should do it this way.
Yeah. He follows it up with, after that, it's your money. I'll take it. You just tell me what you want.
Here's my bank
I'll
account
tell you
details.
exactly what you want to hear, as long as you're paying me that money.
Yeah. I just like to see people be well prepared for an event. I don't know. I personally couldn't think of anything worse than running a marathon when you're underprepared for it.
Nah,
which is a slightly
disrespect. It's a bit of a disrespect to the marathon too.
Which is a slightly different sort of take on the question, but like getting to 30K and then having to pretty much walk, run the rest of it. Why not be better over 5 and 10K then do that. That's just how I would feel.
Yeah,
Also,
enjoy the event.
I have some people that come in the store, and not just in the store, but just in general, and say, "Oh, I did this marathon and I didn't even train for it, and then like they think that's great." And I'm like, that doesn't impress me. What impresses me is someone committing to training and getting up early and changing their life and dedicating themselves to preparing as best they could for this marathon. That's what impresses me. And that's what I respect more than someone that can get out there and just like grit it out for 42K.
Yeah, well put. Moose on the loose, purchase of the week. What have you been doing?
Oh, what have I been doing? Oh, I'm a bit like, you know how you've been complaining about this whole thing, Brady. You don't want to, you're a bit disillusioned by it and all. It's actually been really good for our sport, I think. As bad as it is to the individuals, our sport, and even like looking at AA and going, oh, it's not the best process or whatever. How many people now know the women's marathon team going into Paris? How many people know more about Jess Stenson and Jess Stenson, Jen Gregson, Sinead Diver than ever before? Like, this has been in our mainstream media. We've been watching, I think Mona was just on Channel 7 before. Jen was on Wild World of Sports one morning, I think. It's been on the, I've seen it on all this.
Is good news.
Local. Well, I'm saying it's bringing attention to our marathon team.
And it's probably going to bring change as well, hopefully. So, like, maybe this needed to happen to be like, all right, let's go to a selection trial. Or let's be more, explicit in the policies going forward.
Yeah, and the clicks that it's getting and the discussion and the debate that's raging. We live in a clickbait type journalistic world right now where these types of things get attention. Maybe we do start seeing some more articles on running. We start to get our athletes chucked in the spotlight a little bit more. But I think what comes with that is the sport has to sort of develop a little bit of a thicker skin in terms of media attention and media discussion, debate. Professional athletes, and professional organisations, they're sort of at they're going to be a target of criticism and debate and analysis. And sometimes the analysis doesn't go that way, especially if a professional athlete isn't performing at the time. And I don't think our sport's fully prepared for that. I don't think we have the thick skin required, like some of the sports that do get analysed day in, day out and are in the media spotlight a lot more. And I reckon that's something that we have to work on as a sport, and the professionals in our sport need to do it. Like, they're never I think we're just a bit chummy with everybody, if you know what I mean. Like, the whole media side of the sport is real chummy, and no one's really willing to step up and say, oh, that was a terrible race. Like, what's going on? Like, why are you running so poorly right now? Or
you hear it on some like podcasts and stuff you listen to, and just like mainstream media, where the questions are just like layups. You're just like, so many times I'll listen to stuff, I'm like, oh, you had like 5 questions and you didn't ask that. You asked like, what your favourite breakfast cereal was for your 5th question. Like, dig deeper.
So do you think we are, like, I suppose we're sort of media. Do you think we are?
Oh mate, we've burnt some bridges.
Are we critical?
I think.
Are we critical enough, Moose? Like, do we go hard enough?
No, I still think we're pretty chummy. I feel like we're chummy because we're friends with a lot of people, and I think that I would certainly avoid criticising or being critical of someone's performance on the show because I'm friends with them. Like,
but we've called out poor performances in the past.
Yeah, we have. A lot of them are from. It's a lot easier to do it though when the athlete's overseas or based overseas, I think, and we don't have any real relationship with them, than it is with someone who comes on our show regularly, or we see them at races, we say hello to them, that kind of thing. I reckon if we called things exactly how we saw them, we'd end up having no guests on our show, or we would sort of isolate ourselves a little too much. even though some of the best sports podcasts and sports shows in the world are the ones that call it exactly how it is at the point to where it maybe take it too far sometimes.
You
There
got to
is
be
no
honest,
running.
though. I think our listeners, and that would probably show in our listenership. Like last week's episode had 25,000 listens. Like, I think that comes from people tuning into our show going, these guys are going to be honest and not afraid to call shit out.
Yeah,
Like an example tonight. Like, you know, we've been at the moment, well, maybe I have, maybe not you guys, but like sort of critical of Lyndon Hall's performances at the moment, going, okay, like she's running the Olympic standard, but there's been a few girls that have beaten her at, you know, nationals and have run, you know, well under 4 minutes this season. But then in the past, like we've basically said, how good is Lyndon Hall? Like, you know, Australian record holder. So I feel like we're fairly fair, but we still will sort of be honest.
Yeah, if we're the AFL media and someone goes out and has 3 kicks when they generally have 25 kicks, like that's a bad game. And you question, like, what's going on here? Is this a coaching thing maybe? Like, coaches shouldn't be removed from this. We should be able to go, are you doing, like, is this a strategic thing that's not working? Are you doing some training that's not working? Are you race planned poorly, or are you peaking at the wrong time? If someone performs well now and then they perform poorly at the Olympics, like, are we looking at that?
So Reece Edwards yesterday, 69 minutes. Like, something's gone wrong there.
I mean, he's doing 3K reps last week in 9 minutes or whatever.
You think he'd be offended if you made a comment about it? Is this Moose on the loose on the media, or is it on the professional? He's not a professional athlete.
I'm just having a chat here. I'm just bringing this out. I'm not having a go at anyone.
It's on I think he's saying basically on the sport. It's like, if we want the sport to be more professional, it's like you need to be able to take like the criticism, or like if the sport gets bigger, that means there's going to be more media attention, because essentially media, that's where a lot of money comes from. And so if you've got more media attention and it's out in the public, then there's going to be more like criticism and more views. And so I think that's sort of where he's getting at in terms of, and we're not very good at, you know, or the sport or athletes taking criticism when we're just calling it out. Like, you know, like even like Lyndon, like she'd be like, well, 4:01, it's like my PB's what, 3:56, 3:57. Like, she's not going to be happy with 4:01s, you know. That being said, she might know that she's exactly where she needs to be now, and 4:01s will turn into 3:55s in the next 6 weeks. Like, we don't know. Like, that's what could happen. But right now we're saying, hey, Olympics isn't too far away. We'd expect Lyndon to be well in the 3:50s by now. Yeah.
All right. Good talking point, Moose.
Okay, lighten it up a bit. I'll lighten it up a bit here.
Well, what
so
else
Albert Park was AIM certified, correct?
First year it was certified this year, yep.
Stop fucking cutting your Strava up to end at 10. Stop taking Strava PBs from 10K. Stop claiming your net time if you're on the start line, like at the very front. This is a certified course now. The course was not 10.08 or it was not 9.97. The course was 10K. You just didn't run the bracing line, or your watch fucked up. So can we just end that now? Because I've had enough of that already after one day of seeing it. Like, this is not a problem anymore. These guys went out, they got it certified, they did all the right things. Paid the fee, got the right people in. Now let's just can it. And that was the time you ran. Shut up.
Net time's okay, though, if you're starting further back.
Net time's okay if you're starting back. But if you're on the line, like, I don't want this half second, 1 second bloody cross the line thing. Like, you're racing. This is a race, right? You're not taking net times in the top 10.
No.
Are they?
No.
Surely not. Hopefully not.
No, and actually a lot of your...
I thought they might have been today, actually. That's a different story, though.
Yeah, like the
Video
gold label
footage coming
marathons and stuff. It's on like the race time, not your net time.
That was Jess's PB. It was 2:24.01 or 2:24 flat, not 2:23.59, because that was her net time. They went off her gun time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good one, Moose. Yeah. Seeing a bit of that, are you? Yeah, I got 10.04, which is like, if you got any shorter, you'd be worried they put a cone in the wrong spot.
But I don't actually care what you got. It was
I think Wollongong
certified. I
gets
don't care.
certified next year.
Like, it doesn't matter what it says.
No,
it
but
doesn't.
if that,
it doesn't matter.
But the closer, you don't want it to be 10.0. You
I
want
actually
it
don't
to be
care
over.
what it is. It's certified. I don't need to think about
Top
it.
thing about you run a certified course, yeah.
Because even if you run 10, 20 or whatever, it just means that your GPS is wrong and it's irrelevant. So I don't care what it is.
Or it's been certified, but then when they set up the course, they put a cone in the wrong spot.
That's what I was getting at.
Because I reckon if your Garmin is measuring exactly, that's probably short.
If it's coming in at 10.85, you go, if everyone's just coming in that, you go, I reckon they put that cone a bit far down that road before we did the U-turn.
Yeah.
Maybe. But, I mean, it's better not to think about it.
Yeah, don't let that.
I saw one run today, actually, on Strava. The entire track section had been cropped from the run.
What, do they go in and edit the Strava file?
Yeah. You can cut it back to 10K exactly. And that 10K mark was outside the track, so the race finished at the end. Very sad. Very
funny.
sad stuff.
Why are you
and it was
doing
like
that?
off the results, it was like, I don't know, 40-second different or something. Oh, not good.
Because what's funny about that is if you're going off like your GPS, but you're actually legitimately racing somebody, it's like does that mean whoever's watched beat 10K first wins, even if you're running like right next to the person? Like that just goes to show that like GPS is not the race. It's not the finish line. It's not the finish line. The finish line's the tape, the arch. Yeah.
The timing map of the finish line, yeah. It's good, fellas. Good chat. Enjoyed that tonight. What's coming up? Oceania Champs are happening at the moment in Fiji.
Yeah. Have to Strinsos actually won the 10K tonight in 29:17. Beat Andre Waring 29:55.
Is it fast enough to make the point significant?
I wouldn't have thought so.
Yeah, no way.
There's no real watches is there, for us in the distance world?
I think like Peyton Craig's running the 800. So there'll be a few that'll pop up. I think women's 5K has Paige Campbell, Jenny Blundell, Morty Skyring.
So no one threatening a team spot, though, is there? Were there all at Diamond Leagues?
Yeah, I don't know. Like, somebody like Peyton, for example, because the middle distance stuff's probably not going to be influenced by the weather as much. If he goes out and wins and runs like a pretty quick time,
might help
then
him,
that would help him.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't have the standard, does he?
Don't think so.
No.
Broke the Australian record for under 20, but I don't think he's got the standard.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, he doesn't, because Luke Boyes has just missed it.
Yeah. Is he there?
Oh, he might be there.
That might be a good watch for him, actually. Yeah. This Saturday morning, we're in action at Albert Park, the Road to Gold Coast listener session. Reese Edwards, Sam Hopper, Carla Chweck going, Moose. You got Carla down there Saturday morning?
She's going. Yep, she'll be doing a workout.
7:30 a.m. Albert Park. The link is in our bio. We just need you to sign up on the event page over there, just to like sign the waiver and stuff. But all the details are there as well. About 55 people registered already, so it should be good. Saturday morning for a bit of a workout around the lake.
Saturday morning.
Hey?
Saturday morning.
Saturday morning, yeah. Saturday morning. June 8th. I'm sure that checks out. It's very much like comfortable BYO workout if you want to. If you want to do the workouts planned at your own paces, you can do that as well. Like, very much don't feel intimidated at all. It's, open invite for anyone who's in that area who wants some company to even just warm up and cool down with. There's going to be tables set up for your drinks. ASICs are going to be there with some shoes. So, you can try a different pair of shoes for the workout as well. Put some Ks into those. Hopper, the ASICS expert, will be on the ground there to answer any questions about those shoes as well. So that's cool. Saturday morning. Gold Coast live show tickets went on Patreon yesterday. We got the live show up there 1:30 to 3:30 at the QT. It's going to be good. We've got some special guests organised to come on stage. It's always a fun afternoon doing a live show because we don't have the safety net of the delete button. So what happens in that live show is for everyone to hear in the audience there. That should be good. So tickets go to the public on Wednesday. There is limited capacity here. I think like 240 tickets have gone already to some of our Patreon supporters, and afterwards the post-marathon weekend celebration. So following the live podcast, kick back and celebrate race weekend with a community connection and food and drinks at the QT rooftop. This is one of the best setups you'll see at the Gold Coast weekend. Lululemon do a fantastic job of looking after people up there as well. So put in your diaries, if you haven't got a ticket yet, make sure you get a ticket. And it's a free ticket, don't have to pay for it. Lululemon just doing things with the running community there. Also, I'll go into details in the next couple of weeks about some other things with shakeout runs and those kind of things up at the Gold Coast while we're there. What's coming up, Moose, between now and next week for you?
And I'm going to Melbourne on Wednesday morning. I'm going to the Nike Pacific Running Summit. So they're, I think they might be launching a shoe. Shoe launches on Wednesday, actually, the Nike Pegasus 41. But I'm not sure whether this is a launch of that. We're sort of hidden sort of details a little bit. It's at the Nike HQ and the QT in Melbourne. QT getting a good run at the moment.
Yeah.
Go.
Popular hotel venues for brands.
Yeah. So I'll let you know how that all goes down, because I've seen a brief agenda. Could be some cool content.
You and Zach are on the ground down there. Should be fun. Have a couple of beers with Zach.
Yeah. He's going to be absolutely in his element, just marketing him, networking himself away. I'll just try to stick to the outskirts of the pack and just sit back and watch the man cook.
It's real yin and yang with those two who we got down there, Croaks.
Yeah.
I've been with Zach at an event like that before, and he's introducing me to people. We've got to talk to this person. We've got to do this. We've got to do that. Yeah, he's good at that stuff.
Moose is just in the corner by himself.
He'll get Moose involved. Don't worry about that. He'll be like, this is Julian Spence, is the co-host of Inside Run Podcast, Australia's #1 podcast. That's what he was doing to me one night after he had too many beers.
Moose is like, all right, I've been here 10 minutes of people. I'm going back to my hotel room. I need me time.
If you're in the QT, that is the best hotel ever. You got to make use of that room. You're not doing that in a rooftop bloody drinks night.
They are nice hotels. Croaks, what are you doing between now and next week?
No junket for me,
Recovering.
mate.
You did get an invite, though, didn't you?
Yeah, I did get an invite, but I got to work.
Yeah, this is what happens when you blue collar like me and you. There's kids to teach in the world.
Well,
Can't just be going looking at shoes on a Wednesday or Thursday.
long weekend, though, coming up. Looking forward to that.
King's birthday, yeah, get Monday off.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah, next Monday. You'll be working, won't you? Public holidays, so you don't have to pay people to do it.
Oh, goddamn, probably.
Collingwood and
That's
Melbourne
tough.
on TV.
Hey, what do you boys think about this?
What?
I've been tossing it up in my head lately, because the other day I went and bought some ear pods for Bree for her birthday. She had a birthday, so I got her some ear pods.
Apple ones.
I think that's what they're called, Apple ear pods.
AirPods,
like
they're called.
Bloody expensive ones. And anyway, I go to pay.
AirPods.
AirPods, sorry. And they charged me a fucking credit card fee to buy these AirPods. And I was like, is this a normal thing? And today it happened again. I went and bought something else on my card, and they're like, no, this is normal now. Like, we just passed the credit card fees
Pass it
on to you.
Airlines do that as well.
Yeah, nearly.
AV did it with the registration for the AV rego.
My question to you two boys, you can see where this is headed. If you went in and bought a pair of shoes, and I go, oh yeah, you're paying by card, that'll just be an extra, just 1% fee, and you don't see it, like it goes through as whatever, but it actually comes out on your receipt as that's $202 if it's a 1% fee, if you buy a $200 pair of shoes. So you don't see it. How are you feeling about that? If that happened in our store?
Cafe next to work does it with a coffee.
Cafe has been doing it for a while, and I think every cafe I go to does that now, to me. But retail's different. I've found, like, I was surprised that was the first case of it, and now I've actually had a look lately, and it's happening a fair bit. What do you guys think?
You don't want to be the first, though, do you?
I'm not a massive fan of it. I think that's a cost that the business should absorb.
Yes, see, that's what I've always felt. That's a business cost, because it's always been a business cost for me. But the entire hospitality industry makes it a customer cost now.
Yeah.
So why is it a customer cost in hospitality but not retail?
So you pay cash, you don't pay it. It's just for the card fee.
That's right, yeah.
Even debit cards or just credit cards?
I think
just using the
debit
system.
cards.
Well, some debit, like even with airlines, like debit cards still, you still get charged a fee for, and there's just different rates depending on the card.
Different rates, that's right. Our terminal has a different charge rate for different cards, and you can get some premium level credit cards that actually charge higher rates to the terminal. But I don't know. That's like I'm starting
Give
to
it
feel
3
like
months, Moose, and then do it because everyone will be doing it.
Yeah. What the next question on that? Like you mentioned that public holiday wage. Like you go into a cafe, you're not spending less than an extra 10 to 20% for that public holiday wage, are you? In a cafe.
Yeah, they get you.
You're paying that. So, I have to pay public holiday wages to staff too. So why is it different to me putting an extra 10% on a pair of shoes and going, oh, this is public holiday rate, $210 today, or $220 instead of $200? Like the cafe next door did it to you when you bought the coffee and you didn't complain. But I'm doing, like, what is it about retail that makes us have to wear all the costs, and hospitality actually can pass all the costs onto the customer?
This is what our high IQ listeners come to hear, this kind of stuff. Thought-provoking. No, I'm serious. Thought-provoking.
Oh, mate, it's a bit of poor me, but it's just
There's a bit of business.
It just gets me thinking, that's all.
Entrepreneurial.
I guess the only difference is like 10% of a meal is a way less cost than 10% of a pair of shoes.
It's a less cost, that's right.
Like it's a few bucks, whereas for you it's like $25.
But the staff is getting the same. The staff is.
Yeah, but you're making, if somebody comes in and buys pairs of shoes, and you're basically making $25 every time somebody buys a pair of shoes. Where if I'm going, they have to pay an extra $25 on that day. Whereas if I'm going for a meal and it's costing me, I don't know, $30 for the meal, I'm only paying $3 extra.
Yeah, but the cafe, I mean, that's to the individual, sure. But the cafe's taken all that, like that meal times it by 30. Because
I know
you're $100 extra.
For me as a consumer, like I'm like, you know what, I'm willing to pay that extra $3 to go and have my breakfast out on a public holiday. I'm not paying an extra $25 for a pair of shoes that I can go and buy tomorrow.
That's why we don't do it, because that's the thing. They're going to be, and a coffee is something you have every day, and a pair of shoes is something you buy once every however long. So it's I'm not going to do it. I'm just sort of, I just want to get people thinking about it.
Maybe being on his mind though, Croaks. Being on his mind.
Start asking some questions in the local cafe. That's what I want you to do.
6 months' time, we'll come up to a public holiday. He's like, yep, anybody wants to come in and buy shoes? We're going to be an extra 10%.
All right, boys, we're done. I'm stopping this recording. 2 hours in the bank. Hope you enjoyed that, listeners. We'll do it all again next week. Just got a message from Chriso and Toby as well. It might be a monthly episode in the next couple of days. Patreon supporters there, so keep an eye out for that one. See you, boys.
See ya.
It's time to make your run feel swift with the Mizuno Neo Vista, providing effortless smoothness and blissful softness. Stay tuned via Mizuno Australia on Instagram and mizuno.com.au for the mid-June launch date.